Hello fellow YouTubers, this is Utah Moses here to give you my first recommendations video where I tell you a couple movies that might be worth watching and possibly worth owning for your collection. So, if this one goes well, I might make more. So let's begin. First one is New Jack City, the blaxploitation film from 1991 directed by Mario Van Peebles, which tells about the rise of crime boss Nino Brown, played by Wesley Snipes, and the NYPD's struggle to take them down. And it all takes place from 1988 to 1990, I believe. And this is a really cool movie to watch. And Wesley Snipes as Nino Brown was a real awesome character to watch, even though a lot of people may not like him for his past history right now for what he'd done, but that's not what I'm here to talk about, because all I care about is how he holds up a movie in this, and he really does. And this also stars Mario Van Peebles, the director, and Chud Nilsen from the Rat Pack as cops, along with Ice-T, who he also played a cop in the Law & Order Special Victims Unit TV series, which is interesting to know. And this is literally the Black Untouchables with a lot of similarities, or a few differences, and even though the character of Nino Brown has been modeled by Tony Montana from Scarface, what crime boss hasn't been based on that character after that Brian De Palma film? And he delivers one of the greatest insults that I've ever heard from a movie.
Sit your $5 ass down before I make change.
Sit your $5 ass down or I'll make change. And it also features Chris Rock as a drug addict who used to work for Neo, and he may seem like a whimsical character at first, but this is the most dramatic that I've seen Chris Rock in anything, which is pretty good. So, yeah, I would indeed recommend this movie for any of you that hasn't checked it out yet, and I would strongly recommend you to get the 2-disc special edition, and this is just the single-disc snapper case, which doesn't contain any special features. But if you can't, look for the Blu-ray. Next one is Layer Cake, the gangster film, a British gangster film directed by Matthew Vaughn before he made Kick-Ass, which tells about Daniel Craig's character who works on his last job as a drug dealer, but things get complicated when other mobsters are involved. Now, this is a pretty good independent crime film, and it's produced by Guy Ritchie, who's best known for Lock, Stock, and Snatch, but unlike those films, this involves serious gangsters who aren't stupid or dumb, and this isn't really a comedy for a crime thriller. So, I would say it's pretty good. Not compared to those, but it's still pretty damn good of a crime thriller. And it has a lot of colorful scenes in it, and what am I saying? It is Matthew Vaughn from Kick-Ass, and I'm repeating myself right now. I would say one of the coolest scenes in this is when George Harris beats up an old friend of his at a cafe, and just starts pouring tea on him when the song Duran Duran is playing in the background.
But let's forget about all that. Let's have a cup of tea, Mr. Harris.
The British Empire had been built on tea, and the movie also features Tom Hardy in his early roles before he was hugely recognized in Inception, and the quality for this itself is outstanding, mostly for the picture, which the colors are very vibrant in it, the facial and object detailing looks great, and the sound is decent. And the special features include behind-the-scenes featurette, deleted scenes, two alternate endings to it, and a commentary track by director and writer, which I listened to, and it sounded muffled, as in it was hard to understand what they were saying, and you either had to boost up the volume on it, or just listen very carefully to what they're saying. Other than that, this is a great movie that you should own. Last one is Towering Inferno, one of the early disaster flicks made. Not the earliest in general or even in the 70s, since there was Earthquake and Poseidon Adventure back then, but this was the most talk about a burning building on its grand opening of it, where some party guests get stuck in it and they have to do whatever they can to survive. And it features a great star-studded cast for a disaster flick. You have Paul Newman, Steve McQueen, Faye Dunaway, William Holden, Jennifer Jones, and O.J. Simpson has a minor role in this. And with a cast that features Steve McQueen, you would think that he would jump over the burning building on his motorcycle. I mean, that would have been awesome to see if they can pull that off. Anyways, I really like this movie. I would consider it the best disaster flick ever made, because it has a very realistic story which people complain about in a disaster flick, like ones like Independence Day or The Day After Tomorrow, but it also has some great special effects, like when people get caught on fire or when an explosion happens in the building. And this was filmed during the time of the construction on the 2 Trade Center buildings, which was a 10-year period. Not for the film, but for the buildings. And ever since 9/11 had happened, a lot of TV studio executives had been taking any show or movies off the air that featured the Trade Center buildings, even before the event had happened. And I don't see the big deal about that, unless they're like Family Guy episodes. But, for example, Homer Simpson vs. New York from The Simpsons, where Homer had his car in between the 2 towers, and they just had jokes running around it, but they weren't directly offensive or hardly offensive at all. They were just really funny, and you would enjoy that. So, I don't see the point of that. So anyways, I really like the movie, and it has a shitload of special features on here that you'll enjoy for hours. The only one I've listened to so far was the commentary track by the film historian F.X. Feeney. Strange name, I know. I don't know if it's his real name. He may be using it for identity reasons, but those commentary tracks by historians really compensate for the ones by writers and directors, because they tell a whole lot about the movie, about its messages, metaphors, or what's going on, and a lot of other stuff that we may not know about. So I highly recommend you to get this on Blu-ray for special features if you can. So that's all for my video. Hope it didn't take too long. Rate, comment, and subscribe, and I'll be back later. Until then, this is Utah Moses, signing out.